salary negotiations to how to make at least 3K a month working as a remote software developer. That is the main motivation for doing this video. Also take on challenges. I can tell you for free that is a lot of money. Hello world, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Markusi and today I'm here to talk to you about how to make at least 3K a month working as a remote software developer from Africa. Let's get right into it. Alright, so what is remote work? In my view, remote work is working for a company, right? But not working for that company from their office. So in this case, you can work from anywhere at all you want. So the company can be in one part of the world and you can be working for that company in another part of the world. And this kind of remote work became popular during, in fact, the coronavirus, lockdown situations that we've had and everything. And since this video is about software development, like how to land a remote job with companies overseas, I'll just explain like how well suited the software development career is well suited to like remote work. And I mean, I don't even need to explain much because software development, if you're a software developer, all you need to do is to connect, to be able to connect online. And in fact, if you don't even connect online, you can't really do much, right? Because you don't have access to Google and Stack Overflow and everything. So when we talk about remote work, one of the first things that comes to mind is software development because it's easy to do it remotely. So in this video, I'm just going to show you like I have worked remotely with companies overseas, mainly in the US, and I'm just going to show you like step by step like what I did, share with you some personal tips, and yeah, maybe tell you some story at the end. So stay with me as we go on this journey together. The first thing I'll talk about is remote work platforms, right? Because you are here in Africa and you want to work with companies overseas, like in the US, Canada, and Europe. So that means you need someone to link you and that company over there. And this is mainly what this section is about, the remote work platforms that you can actually sign up on and then take their tests and get linked, right? And some of these don't take a lot of time, but you just need to know how to prepare yourself, how to prepare your CV, how to do this and do a few things. So I'll just mention a few remote work platforms and I'll tell you about where I was able to get my job, and I'll be able to talk more about that because that is a platform that I've had a lot of interactions with in the past. The first platform, which is where I work, where I got my remote work, is Turin. So you can I'll put all the links in the description below. So you can just visit their website, and for all of these remote platforms, it's like you visit their website, and what you do, you sign up as a developer, and then they have some tests for you to take. So for instance, if you are a JavaScript developer or a Python developer, when you go there, you have to take some tests on Python, some tests on JavaScript, and then they are going to give you some coding tests to do. So when we say coding tests, we mean like they give you a problem and you use some code, a language of your choice to solve that problem, right? So all these platforms have the same format. I'm just going to mention them. So the first one that my favorite one, of course, is Turin, right? And Turin has the same format where you sign up on Turin and then you take their test and then if everything goes well, you pass through their processes, you get matched up. So this matchup happens like once they verify that you actually have the skills that you say you have, they make you visible on their website and visible to their customers right over there. Because think of it this way, they also have customers. You are their customer and they also have customers, which is the companies who are looking for your skills, right? So the important thing to keep in mind is that you have the skills and those companies need people with those skills to work. So Turing is one of the platforms that you can look into. And then the other platform is Honeypot. Right? So Honeypot mainly deals with Europe companies from what I've seen. But of course, just go to the website and sign up and see that I've also had a lot of interactions on Honeypot. And the next one I'll talk about is TopTal. TopTal also is one of the interesting places to look for if you're looking for a remote job. And I mean, they all have the same thing. You just go there, you take their tests, they take you through a process, and then you become part of their family. The other one that I would like to talk about, which I'm proud to talk about, is Andela, right? So Andela itself is like a Nigerian-based company, right? And that's why I'm happy to talk about it. So because it's right here in Nigeria, in Africa, and they are also doing a lot of big stuff. Actually, when you sign up on Andela, you get matched also with companies outside, overseas, and the same procedure, right? You take their tests, and they add you to their platform. They link you to a company or whatever. And then the other one, or the last one I want to mention, which is kind of a new one, and they deal mostly with Canadian companies, is VanHack. So VanHack also, it's the same process. Again, go sign up, take their test, and then you are on, right? So a little piece of advice here is don't just focus on one platform to sign up on. You can sign up on all of them, right? And try to shoot your shot on all of them. And whichever one works, you go with that one, right? So for instance, I remember when I was looking for a remote job, I signed up on most of these platforms. I remember I signed up on Turing, Honeypot, TopTal, Andela, and the Turing one went through, right? And then that is where everything started for me, right, as a software developer working remotely. Yeah, so just sign up on all of these platforms and keep on trying your luck. Okay, and of course, when I say luck, it's not completely about luck. There's a certain process to follow, right? And that is what I'm going to talk about in my next sections. So because as I explained earlier, just try out all of them, but it's not like try all of them and then there's a probability that you get one. There's actually a lot of work that goes into the preparation when it comes to getting a job, right? There are going to be interviews, and in software interview process in particular is very hectic and all of that. And so if you keep on listening to me, I'm going to explain to you how you are going to prepare yourself very well and get a much better chance of getting hired on these platforms. Yeah. Once you sign up on these platforms, right, most of them have their own processes. So for instance, on Turing, you have some tests, mostly MCQ tests, that you have to take. So for instance, there's a test on Python, and this is not coding test. This is a different. This is like MCQ test. They're asking you, okay, in Python, whatever, and then you choose A or B or C or D, right? Or what is the output of this code, and you're choosing A or B or C or D. And there could be 40 questions, and you have 30 minutes to answer these questions and everything. So all these platforms have their own procedure, and this is the common one I've seen so far, where once you go onto the platform, you are asked to take a test on certain subjects. So for instance, if you think you are good in Python and you want to be hired for Python, you take a Python test, and then there are some certain compulsory tests to take, like Git and GitHub, source control tests and everything. That is something that every software developer who wants to work remotely should know, Git and GitHub. So to tackle such tests, such MCQ tests, for instance, maybe you want to take the Python test. Well, for me, my recommendation would be to, I know you can already code in Python, right? But just refresh your Python again. right before you take the test, right, just refresh your Python again, because you might have more questions than time. For instance, if you have like 50 questions and you're given 30 minutes, um, this is not time to think on your feet. You can't even search on the web for answers, because if you want to do that, you'll not be able to answer all the questions. And so the best approach is to refresh, like yourself on the test you're going to take. So if you're going to take a Python test, make sure you refresh your Python. If you're going to take a Git test, make sure you refresh your Git. SQL, make sure you refresh, right before you take it, or just make sure you're comfortable and you can answer questions instantly before you click and try to take such tests. So that's the first thing. These are like platform specific stuff. And then the other thing that these platforms also have is the coding test. So this is like you are given a coding assignment. So let's say you are given a coding problem to take, and you can choose any language of your choice, and you can use this language to solve the problem, right? So you can be asked a question like, and this is to test like your data structures and algorithm strength, or to see if you can actually code, because at least you should know some data structures and algorithm. You should know some of these things, and these questions are usually structured around this kind of topics. So how do you prepare for this particular kind of tests? So I'm going to show you like a few platforms that you can actually use to prepare yourself for this kind of coding tests, right? So the first one I would like to mention, or the one I've used a lot, is HackerRank, right? So HackerRank, when you go to HackerRank, you are going to get, you sign in, and then they have a lot of coding questions, and each of them come with a certain difficulty, right? So what you can do is you can take like some time, maybe 1 month or 2 months, just take that time to answer, to train yourself on some of these tests, these questions. Because here's the thing: you might be a software developer, you can know how to code, but you cannot answer these questions in the time frame that you are given. And the reason is that, of course, in your day-to-day job, it's true that you don't need these things exactly. In modern software development, you don't exactly need most of these things, but you are tested on these things, right? So if you really want to get a job, the best thing to do is to actually take the test and train yourself, and then go and take the test, right? And in the process, you're also going to learn a lot of things. I've heard people argue that I'm not going to use this coding test in my day-to-day job. So if a company asks me to do it, I'll not do it. But if also you want to have the job, and think of it this way, from the perspective of the company, there are a lot of applicants coming in, right? So you're not the only software developer. So imagine you have 2 people, and both of you can do normal software development. You can build websites, you can build strong back-end applications and everything. Now, what will actually show the difference between the 2 of you, right? If I'm like the owner of a company, or I'm the one hiring, then if I give you this test and this last test, right, and the other person passes and you don't pass, I'm going to take the other person, and that's fair enough, because they know extra much more than you do, and that's a fact. So it is good to actually practice on these things. And one of the platforms I've mentioned, HackerRank. The other one too is Topcoder. That is also an interesting platform you can use to train yourself on this. So Topcoder, actually, I like also Topcoder a lot. And then the last one that is also very popular is LeetCode, right? So I'll put all these links in the description, so you can already go there, click on them, and be practicing. So that is about the code test. I've mentioned like the normal MCQ test, and then there's the code test. And then the other thing I'm going to talk about is your CV, right? So in your CV, what I've realized these companies are looking for, or these platforms are most interested in your experience, right? So make sure that on your CV, you make sure that your experience stands out. And this experience can be like working for an actual company, and also personal project that you've done also count as experience, right? Because because they are interested in what have you done in the past, right? Because these employers, they want someone who can give them solutions, or someone who can do exactly what they want for them. So if they see that you've done something like that, the same thing they want to be done for them, there's a higher chance that you get picked, right? So the experience, make sure that your experience stands out in your CV. And I've seen a lot of CV where the experience doesn't stand out at all. Like you just mentioned some things and you can't really figure out whether they have experience or not, right? So don't be like that. And I also share maybe a template with you where you can check. You can use that to check your CV and see if it is good enough. And yes, experience, personal projects. And then on this same matter of CV, another important thing is your GitHub account, right? Now this is it's quite unfortunate because even what I've realized is the GitHub account of most developers in Africa is not that like they don't really give like a lot of attention to their GitHub account, right? Which is not good, because GitHub is like social media for developers, right? So if you don't, we can't see anything you've done on GitHub. Is also because it's one of the best ways to judge what someone can do. Okay, so it's that you can see maybe computer science students who don't even know what GitHub is, or have never used GitHub account or something, right? And maybe they might know Git theoretically, and you're learning it in school. So if you're a student, also this is a good thing. If you're first year, second year, third year of your university, right now you can go and create a GitHub account, and any project that you do, push it there, right? So when an employer goes there and they see like the history of things you've done, they can say, oh, okay, this is the person can do that, because basically we want to confirm, can you do the work or not? That's basically what the employers want to confirm. If I have like access to your GitHub and it has like a lot of history, that makes my work easier as an employer. So make sure that you give good attention to your GitHub. I cannot stress this enough. And maybe I can later, so if you have, as I said, I'll put a link to maybe a CV template that you can use to compare your CV, and you can use to improve on your CV. And if you also need like any advice on the CV, you can actually contact me on any of my social media, and I can look at your CV for you and give you maybe feedback or something like that. The last part of this preparation section I want to talk about is the interview. So let's say you have passed through the coding and then also the code test and the MCQ test, and you have a good CV, so they are happy and they are considering you. Now the last step is to actually have like an interview with you, which is like a video interview, right? And just to have a conversation with you and to actually see you in person, because all this while they have been dealing with you through like the profile on their website, right? Now they want to have like a personal feel of you. So this interview usually is in two parts. The first part is they let you, from my experience, you take a code test, like a live test. So they give you a small problem. They ask you questions about about what they are considering to hire you on. So if they want to hire you as a Python developer, they'll ask you questions like on Python, and just to see how you respond to those questions in real time, right? So if someone took the test for you, then in that interview, they can catch you that, okay, you did not actually take this test or something. You don't actually know what you're doing. So that is the point, why the main purpose of the interview, the video interview. So They ask you questions about the subject, and then they also give you a test, a code test, again, as I said, to do. But with this one, is you do it live, right? Um, so you share your screen, and they give you the question, and you are coding the question right in front of them, right? And in this case, you are communicating your thought process. So of course, there's a time limit. So just be relaxed. One thing you can do is be relaxed, and they want to understand how you are thinking about the problem, right? So you can actually solve the thing and then explain, okay, this is why I did this, or this is why I did that. So they also want to know how you did it. They want to know how you thought through it. Okay. So be prepared in this way also. And yeah, so that I would say is like some of the things you should note in the interview section. Like if you know with the interview, physical interview, if you actually know your stuff, it's not a big deal, right? Because the person interviewing on the other end will be able to feel that this guy actually knows what they're doing, because you are talking with a person, right? You're not talking with like a robot or an AI. So just be relaxed, be cool, and then do your best. All right, so let's say now you've been able to go through the interview process, and you've landed like their trust, and they are happy with you. They want to move on. They want to work with you now. Then the next thing the stage they're going to take you through is the salary negotiation stage, right? So basically, they are going to have a call with them, and they're going to ask you, okay, so how much money are you going to charge, right? Okay. So this is why if you read the caption of my video, I said at least 3K a month, right? Because the first thing that I would say is use that as baseline, right? If you are on any of the company, if like you are dealing with any of the platforms I've talked about, for what, as much as I know, use that as baseline. And that is even small, because that is like I'm saying this from like say 2020 experience, like early 2020 experience, when I first landed my job. Somewhere in 2019, right? With During, like, so 3K, like, is a sensible price to say. If you feel like you don't want to say something too big and you're afraid, no, don't be afraid. This is a negotiation, right? So for me, in my personal case, I just wanted a job and I wanted experience. So they asked me, okay, how much are you going to take? And they were asking me like per hour, how much are you going to charge, right? And I was like, look, I'm going to leave that in your hands. What is the minimum you can give me? And actually what they mentioned was yeah, it wasn't that minimum, right? In the context of where I am, right? But I'm not saying use where you are to mention your price, right? But what I'm saying is, if you are getting like $3,000 a month in anywhere in Africa, I can tell you for free that is a lot of money, right? So if it's your first time, and just use that as a baseline, right? So at least if you feel like you don't want to, if you're afraid, like sometimes you just want to play to your, you just want the job, right? So it's fine, use that as a baseline. And what I can tell you is that working with people overseas, this might sound like I'm talking like something negative, but working with people overseas, they are more like they want you to keep working, right? So if you are good, they want you to keep working. And so if they see that you deserve a raise, you're not even the one to ask them, they're going to give it to you. And this is my experience with children that I had. Like, I think in the first 2 months they raised, and then in the in like within 6 months it has raised again. Within a year it has raised, and I think like from 2020 to 2025, I got like up to 4 raises 4 times, right? And these are not like small raises; they're like big, significant raises. So working, actually, that's one of the interesting things as compared to working for companies in Africa, working with like it's part of their work culture, right? They have to pay you for you to be happy so that you can work for them to also be happy. Yeah, and I'm not saying anything negative with regards to that, but that's the truth. If you are working and they're happy, they will actually would want to pay you more. And in some of the platforms, you actually have the chance. They can even offer you to the chance to actually come there, right? If they see like, oh, you are doing a very great job and we want to keep you. So in negotiating the salary, if they ask you like an hourly rate, the least, if you don't feel like you want to go too much, you can go like 20. At least don't go below $20 per hour, right? And that's like 8 hours a day. So $20 per hour, 8 hours a day. Don't go below that. Or 3K a month. Don't go below that. Right? But also do your research, because I'm talking from like data I had from my experience. So do your research also, and most other platforms are also different when it comes to this salary stuff. So just do your research and know like what is the best price you can mention, right? Also, one good place to get a good idea of what salary you can charge is maybe just Google it and you can get some answers actually. Okay, so now you've talked about salary negotiation, and assuming like everything has gone through and you started working with a company, you're happy, right? Then what I just like to give you little remarks when it comes to like work ethics and working remotely. Right? So since you're working remotely, there's always this issue of whether you are working or not, right? Because let's say you land a job with a company, you agree that I'll be working from this time to this time, right? And so there's always this doubt: is the guy working or not? Like if you can imagine, if you were the employer, you might have something like that. And so, what will you do to remove such doubt? Like, because you don't want that. And one of the things is, of course, when you are working, like let's say in software development, you are given the task to do, right? And you are given how long you want to take to do it. You ask, okay, how long do you want to take to do this? So what you should do is make sure you are meeting your time. And if you think if there's something that is delaying you, make sure you communicate it. So maybe you might be using Slack or something, right? And there might be something like a daily stand-up where you are reporting what you've done for the day and everything. So make sure in that stand-up you add that, okay, maybe I'm having this blockage here and this is going to cause this delay or something, and I'm looking into this. So make sure that you communicate very well and aptly. If there's something, you are being given a task and you don't understand like what to do, just ask questions. Don't be timid. A lot of us in Africa, we are timid, and that's true. But on the international plane, that doesn't work that way. If you have a question, ask it, and no one is going to bite you or something like that. Also, take on challenges. So let's say there could be some task, and maybe your lead is asking the question. Okay, so who would be willing to take on this one? Maybe it might be too much for you based on like your self-assessment. But I would say like you should, at least like don't always try to do things that you're comfortable with, right? And you can always find answers when it comes to programming. So just take on big challenges, and that is how you're going to keep on increasing your experience, right? Taking more and more challenges in your project. Don't keep on doing what you already know. You never grow that way. Yeah, so that's just a few bits I want to touch on when it comes to the work ethics. Always make sure that you're available. And for me personally, when working remotely, in fact, it's like I'm available 24/7 because I don't have anything else to do. So in my case, okay, there's a bug, I'm already there, and I'm helping them fix it or something. And so I saw like they were really appreciating this kind of thing. I'm not saying like maybe kill yourself too much or something, but when they really need you, you should be available, right? And one thing is you realize is that sometimes there might be times where there's not a lot of work to be done, and there are times where you need to actually do much more work in a day or something. So just be aware of that, right? And be available when such times comes. Don't do the work first before you go and complain like, oh, I have to go and sleep or something like that. Just make sure that you, because when it comes to software, the chances are like time critical. Maybe a customer needs to is facing a bug and they need to get it fixed, and you say you're going to sleep. So if you're going to sleep, then what is the point of you being there or something like that, right? So just make sure that at certain times you're able to give more, right? Because also at certain times there might be less work to do. All right, so this is the last part of this video, and I'm just going to give some personal tips um, when you're working remotely, right? And the first one I'll talk about is the work environment. So I know like people say when you're working remotely, you can be working with your pajamas, whatever, and everything. But for me, I believe that your work environment also impacts like how much you're able to work, able to get done, right? So if you wake up and maybe you're always working from your bed, to me that is bad. So even if you're working in the house, just try to make sure you set up a certain space, like a table, a chair, or something in some space where you go to work. So even if it's in the same house, but that is where you go to work. And once you enter that environment, your brain automatically switches to work mode, right? But imagine you wake up in the morning and from morning to evening you're just lying in your bed and you say you're working. I can tell you for free that someone who is working in the work environment will be much more effective than you working from the bed. And maybe that might be arguable, but I think that's the truth. So make sure that you have a good environment where you are just working for work, and then separate it from like personal stuff, even if it's in the same house. And the other one is again availability. That is also very important. I can't stress this much now. That sometimes, as a software developer, it's one of the jobs that is not exactly like 9 to 5, because at 10 p.m. there could be a bug and that bug needs to be fixed, and you should be available to fix the bug, right? You wouldn't say that it's a 9 to 5 job, so you should be available. That's what I mean by availability. And you can also realize that sometimes the work goes late. So there are certain times where there's not a lot of work, but there are critical times where you have to be available, and make sure that when those times come, you are available. Otherwise, your whole like usefulness as an employee will be downplayed, right? Because when we had an actual bug, you are not there to help fix it. So be available. And also when you're giving, usually when you're working for these companies, when you start, maybe they give you like tickets or issues to work on, or like small tasks to work on, maybe build this part of the website, or build this button, or implement this endpoint. But don't just focus on those small tasks. Try to understand the bigger picture, right? So it will help you also give feedback to them, and maybe when they're asking you to do something, can help you ask relevant questions once you understand the bigger picture. So you can ask them directly if you're not getting the picture to explain to you what is the big picture here, or okay, what are you trying to do, and they'll be much more than happy to explain to you, because they'll feel like, okay, this person wants to understand our project well, and that is a good thing, because the more you understand the project, the more like you'll be able to contribute to it. So try to see the big picture and then contribute accordingly. And also, the final thing I'd like to say is continue to improve yourself even after you get a job, right? So let's say you've gotten a job, you're earning like 5K or 6K or whatever. That can relax you, right? Okay, I'm working. But I'll say don't do that. You should continue to improve yourself. So if let's say you were a back-end developer, now try to, maybe you're a mid level, now try to increase yourself to senior level, or try to learn some software architecture here and there. Try to improve yourself in any way. If you're a front-end developer, try to improve yourself. Maybe go deep into each gen of CSS, try to understand the nitty-gritty, try to understand the browser well. If you're a mobile app developer, try to understand your environment also, that the mobile app. So when it comes to improving yourself, usually when you're programming, you have an environment you're working in, or there's an environment that your application runs in. One of the easiest ways to improve yourself is to understand that environment. So if you're a web developer, try to understand the browser more, right? And that will increase or 10x your expertise as a web developer. If you're a mobile developer, try to understand the mobile phone more. So what are the things that the mobile phone can do, right? Or what are the things that I can make the phone do? What are the things that I can access within the phone? And this will help you be much more better in that like sector of the of software development you're doing. So try to improve yourself. So thank you for watching the video. I know it's a long video, so thank you for watching to the end. I hope it will help you in return, right? And I'm hoping that we can have more conversation on this, because the main reason I did this video is I kept getting a lot of questions on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Since I once featured in the Turing video some time ago. So that is the main motivation for doing this video, so that other people can also get access to this information and try their hands on it. I wish you all the best, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as I'll be sharing more important information like this one if you like this video. Thank you.